So, as I've been hauling manure with this tractor for the past week or so, I realized I have all the footage I need to do the old technical video on this thing and of the whole build and swap and everything. I've recorded that video probably 6 times and I've always forgetting something. This video is probably going to be no different. So, anyway, here's a video on this thing. So, I had a pretty good opportunity. I got our old 2150 white in here, and I got my 2150 white in here. And so this is the one that I swapped the motor in. This one still has the original motor in, and I figured if I got both of them in, this would be a good time to talk about what all it took. So this one still has a Minneapolis Moline. It's a 585 cubic inch, 9.6 liter, naturally aspirated diesel. And there are 3 of these split columns. There's 2 pistons in each of here. They call these a jug. It's a split block with a split head up there. So you got 3 jugs, 3 heads, basically just a mammoth of a motor, like 585 cubic inch. That's a big motor. And over here we have an 8.3 Cummins, which is super common. There's combines, tractors, over the road heavy duty trucks that have this engine. Millions of them. This one is common, but the part support isn't there anymore. Minneapolis kind of fell to the wayside. Parts for those tractors are getting hard to find. Now this tractor had engine problems. I couldn't even tell you exactly what went wrong, but the 6 bolts that hold on the flywheel were completely sheared off. This tractor was sitting running a TMR mixer, and they said the engine just stopped right now. It was running and then it wasn't. Just in a flick of a switch, it stopped. So for me to rebuild the engine in this tractor and pray to God everything in the rear end was okay, just to rebuild the motor in this, it would have cost $6,000 on a used motor that who knows what was wrong with it exactly. That's not counting pistons, rods, valves, you name it. So I could have spent $6,000 on just an overhaul kit that might have worked or it might not have. Instead, I bought this engine. It's out of a 2366 combine. It's making about 250 horse, which the original engine made right about 150. Now that may seem like a downgrade, but I guarantee this 8.3 Cummins makes nowhere near the torque that this one makes. All right, there's no replacement for displacement. You're talking 9.6 liter, 8.3. This tractor will outpull this thing any day of the week. I guarantee it. But when it comes to fuel efficiency, this tractor's got it. Not so much. There's a reason they put fuel tank fenders on these, and you can get a auxiliary fuel tank. They really suck the fuel. Anyway, so that's kind of basic differences between this tractor and that one. But we ain't talking about that today. Today I'm going to talk about what it takes to shoehorn an 8.3 Cummins into a 2150 white. I just happen to have this one in the shop. Good comparison day, right? So we're going to kind of talk about this one. I'm pretty excited. This has been a very, very big project from a mental aspect to a physical aspect. This is a very big tractor. All right, this ain't a farm all M you pull in and do a restore job on. It's a beast, and I love it. So without further ado, this is the story of this white 150. This tractor worked over at the farm in Iowa for, I want to say it's a 76. It was about brand new. It worked for years. It pulled a 7-bottom plow. I don't know if the original engine was ever touched or not, but it just worked, and it made its home there on the farm. When I got it, they were using it to run a TMR mixer, and they said it was, running along, all of a sudden it just stopped. And I mean, it don't, blah, 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 blah. No, it just stopped. When I split this tractor originally, I split it and the flywheel fell off. The flywheel's got 6 bolts that connect it to the crank. Those were sheared off. So something happened. This stopped really fast right now. So I was a little nervous to tear into it. I didn't know if something was wrong in the rear end, and that just sounded like a lot of money and a lot of work. But I was digging around online, and Maybaugh tractor out of Ohio, I couldn't tell you exactly where, but if you're ever going to mess with anything white or Oliver, give Maybaugh a call, specifically Brad Maybaugh. He really made this whole project possible. And I called them, and they had not a kit, but if you can see here, there's about a 3/4 inch plate. And what that does is it goes on the back of the motor, and it allows you to bolt up this motor to this transmission. From there, it takes a white workhorse, a later model, white workhorse 125, 35, and 45, maybe even a 55. It takes that flywheel. It still runs the original white 2150 starter, but from that flywheel, it takes a different ring gear. So I had to get this flywheel, and of course it came with a ring gear. I had to pop that ring gear off, had to buy a new ring gear, because the original white 2150 flywheel ring gear, that's all one solid piece. I don't know why, it's kind of silly, but I mean, I don't think anyone anticipated this. So I got that done. I had to put a new pilot bearing in. For anyone who doesn't know, under this cover, there's a shaft that goes all the way through the transmission, and it basically splines into the flywheel coming off the back of the engine. That's a leftover from the Olivers, and I think White actually ran with it for quite a few years. I don't know if the Workhorse series still ran it, but like your 2105s, 2155s, all them ran it. And that basically, as long as the engine was turning, you were still getting hydraulic power. You still have PTO, so you had live PTO, live hydraulics. Big deal. I don't want to say Oliver was first, but they were definitely in the running if they weren't. So yeah, I had to do new flywheel, and actually I went with a clutch from a Workhorse series tractor, which is actually the same clutch as this 2150. It's an upgraded clutch. I think it's good for like 200 horse, which I'm way over, but as long as you know what you're doing driving it and don't purposely overwork it, like I did just today trying to pull a combine out of a ditch. It didn't slip. So if it was going to blow up or break in half, that would have done it. So It's the original clutch. The pressure plate's different because of the flywheel's different, but that's all a Workhorse series clutch. So it's still white. Those white Workhorse came with a 5.9 Cummins or an 8.3 Cummins. So everything kind of speaks the same language. The Workhorse still ran the same transmission these did. It's basically just a, I'll show you if you can see here. If I even know where I'm looking. I'm probably not even looking in the right place. But basically it's a big H. So you have, oh God, 1, 2, swing it over, R1, which is the reverse one, down is 4, swing it over, you got 5th gear up here, 3rd gear down over here, swing it over and up, that's R1, or it might have R1 and R2 backwards, reverse gear, and 6th gear. Now I think the Workhorse series, they had all their shifting in the side console over here, but basically the same thing, except the shifter wasn't in between your legs, it was over here. They just ran different linkages. I do think the the Workhorse ran a different rear end. They kind of built an all new rear end. This is still just the same as a 55 series Oliver. But as far as other things go, I mean, that'd be a 45-minute video. This tractor still runs the original white 2150 radiator. I had to be custom fan shroud. This is a 55-gallon barrel, but most fan shrouds are plastic. I figured it'd work. The radiator hose inlet was over here on the left side, but on the combine motor it was over there, so rather than just shooting straight across, they had to cross. The top one, oh, get up in there, is right in the center, kind of kicks off to the side, which is nice because it stays out of the way. I still got the combine fill and dipstick for the oil, which I don't know, my dad's after me to change it. It'll probably stay the same because, I don't know, it's neat. I mean, you see this thing sitting there, just that little giveaway tells you this ain't factory. It's kind of cool. One thing I might change is down here on the bottom. So most combines for the drain, since this motor sits, you know, way high up on the machine, they run a drain hose for the oil, so that'll have a hose on it that's probably like 4 feet long, draining it all the way to the ground. And I don't know, I don't like how, if just the right circumstances happen, something could come along and hit that and drain all the oil out. Draining out all your oil on an engine, it's a bad thing. You don't want that to happen. And on this side, I kind of got this funky hood, which I'm not a welder by no means, but even I can say that welding sucks. The original engine didn't have a turbo. This one's got a turbo tucked up under there. I had to make room, otherwise I would never get that hood on. And I actually, before I did this, there was a video I posted a while back. I had the whole air intake hanging off the side of this thing. I managed to get that all bent around, and I got it a cozy little home. This up here is the air intake now, which this is the outer part. It's a different hole. It's now right across from the exhaust. It used to be up here, but with the new way the radiator runs and all the hoses go, it never fit the original way. And I talk about it now and I try to wrap it up in a short little video, but this has been over a year, and it's not like I worked on this thing nonstop. It was an hour or so here and there, and It is an absolute... It's just really fun driving. It's just got this short little stack. I had that chunk of stack laying around, and I welded a chunk of 4-inch pipe on it so I could slip it on, get it fit. So I had something rather than just the exhaust coming right off the turbo, which I think I'm getting old because I think I'm going to put a muffler on it, but it seems wrong still. So we'll see. Maybe next time it'll have a big chrome stack on it. Otherwise, I think that about covers it. I guess there is one thing. There's a couple more now that I think about it. So this front end, this cross brace used to sit, this bolt was back here. So basically this used to be back here. I probably could have called Cummins and ordered a new oil pan. Okay. I probably could have called Cummins, got a different oil pan, but this was the one I had, and I was already in deeper this project than I really wanted to be. So what I did, instead of this straddling this with a pin running through it, I welded in a new cross brace to this front axle. So I still got my pin. It's still the same geometry, just this is slid forward. And instead of this piece being here, it's now braced back and forth, which so far has worked pretty good. I was a little worried. There's not much clearance on the oil pan, but by the time you get out here on the axles, when it pivots, it hasn't hit yet, and I haven't gone too crazy yet. There's blocks on the axle here that'll hit the frame to stop it from rotating before anything gets too crazy. Otherwise, this engine, the block sits pretty much flush with the bell housing versus this one where you'll have your bell housing and it kind of sticks out and then your block is more forward, if that makes sense. If I had the hoods off, I could show you. So basically, the tank sits back here and runs all the way up to here, which from there, your bell housing's back here. So your block sits forward from the bell housing, and it's got a decent sized tank. I want to say it's like 30 gallons. This one, on the other hand, your bell housing's here and your block's right here. So I had to cut a 3-inch band out of that tank, weld it back together. This thing, I probably lost about 10 gallons fuel capacity. So it's got a smaller tank. I put these fender tanks on it. One I know for sure is full of rust and has the bottom blown out. And honestly, I don't think I'm gonna hook them up just because eventually I want to get the cab work gone through. And I will figure something out. This tractor originally had an auxiliary fuel tank. I might put one back on, but I got to rework how it works. The original style auxiliary fuel tank, basically what it does is it pulls a vacuum in the fuel tank and it sucks the fuel out of either fender tanks or that fuel tank. Being that I welded that one back together, I don't want to pull a vacuum on it too hard. I actually replaced... I don't want to pull a vacuum on that tank too bad, so I might put a tank on the bottom here. They go in this area underneath the floorboard, and I'll rig it up with an electric fuel pump, maybe. We'll see. That's kind of a ways down the line, and quite frankly, I'm just enjoying it now. So, otherwise, my plan for this tractor was to get it running and driving, and then this winter, I'm gonna get that cab worked over. It's kind of got some rust along the bottom. If you can see in there, The frame itself is good. All the square tubing. All the windows are good. All the seals are good. The hinges are a little stiff from sitting. This is a first generation white cab, so it's got this big AC condenser on the back of it. If I put AC back in it, I'm gonna do kind of a standalone. Box in there. So I'm probably gonna chop that off. Either that, or I'm gonna pull the condenser out of it and put a light bar in there. Because why not? And so I kind of been debating. I planned on just painting this whole tractor, but I don't know. I've kind of been second guessing myself. It's not terrible. I might just leave it as is, because anyone who paints old cars, old tractors will tell you you can't paint patina. And even this being roughed up and welded, I think it kind of looks cool. Even with the motor being red, it's something different. So I don't know. If you would happen to have a comment relating to that, go ahead and drop it down below. I'm kind of torn. I don't know if I should paint it or not, and we'll see. I don't know. It can go either way. I might paint it. It'd be cool to have this thing looking brand new and whatnot, but at the same time, it's honest. It is who it is. It's a way. It's not a white anymore. It's just a way. I think even if I don't paint it, I'll probably vote these letters over, because I got all of them. Kind of recenter the white, and but yeah, so this project's taken me over a year. I think total price into this tractor right now is probably $8,000, and that includes the $1,000 paying for the tractor itself, which that was kind of a nephew deal, so I can't complain there. It's probably sitting on $1,000 worth of tires. This thing actually sat kind of down in a swampland for 8 years after the engine blowing up. They looked at having it rebuilt, and then it cost about the same as it does now back then. So I don't know. It was more than the tractor was worth to them, so they parked it. They had a couple people talk to about buying it for parts and that, and at one time the price was $3,000, and I told them I'd get it back into working running order, staying in the family, which is always a good thing. And that must have worked, because here it is. But all in all, it's a good tractor. I don't get to use it as much as I like to, because it doesn't have a cab. Every day I got a little 3-year-old riding with me, so cabs are kind of important. But anyway, that's kind of the story of how this white got here. And I would be the 4th generation to run this tractor in actually 3 states. My grandpa and my great-grandpa farmed over in Iowa and Minnesota, kind of right there on the border, and we're in Wisconsin now. So this tractor's seen 3 states. Colt over there will be the 5th generation to run it, and with any luck he should be. So between these 2 big iron giants here, it's really fun to have them both sitting in the shed like this, because a lot of history here, and you know, that's kind of what it's all about. So